Welcome to my next video here. We are going to go into a revelation of the great mysteries of the Giga Codex, also known as the Devil's Bible. So before I go over a video on YouTube of the Giga Codex, I'm gonna give you my insight on what it is, because I'm sure most people, before they watch this, they may not have even ever heard of this until now. Um, so this is one of the great mysteries of the world. I think they call it what do they call it? Because it was like number 9 or something at one point. Uh, one of the most great mysteries of the world. So basically, my revelation that I will be revealing about the Giga Codex here in this video is what it is and insight on what it's for the most part. That's mainly what I'm going to be explaining is like, what is it for? So the thing about the Giga Codex here is the story goes there was a monk, forgot his name, something the Recluse, and he was going to be sentenced and imprisoned for blasphemy or violating some sort of sacred rule of the monks. So I'm not too sure exactly what he did to get in that much trouble to where they were gonna basically wall him alive. So that's the main consensus of the story is he committed a crime in his sacred order of the monks and was condemned to be walled alive. And in exchange for not being walled alive, the rumor is he would reveal the great secrets and mysteries of the universe, and that's what I'm going to be revealing is passing down the message of what he already revealed, because he revealed it. The only reason I figured it out is because he revealed it, and then I kind of deciphered it and figured it out and connected the dots. So he revealed the great mysteries of the universe, okay? Because that was his deal. You know, he was all basically saying, hey, you guys can't wall me up alive and kill me because I know something that, needs to be passed down to the world, and that, you know, basically he knew the secrets of the universe. So they struck him a deal, and then they told him, or he told them, okay, well, he will write down the secrets of the universe. And he had, I think it was something like 24 hours or something like that. They locked him in a room and gave him time to, write down his manuscript of whatever he was going to reveal that was so important. And lo and behold, when they went back down there and checked on him, he has this freaking giant Giga Codex. And, at first sight, if no one ever heard the story, it may not seem too remarkable, but what you need to understand is this is one of the most famous pictures of the Giga Codex here. This page here of a depiction of Satan slash Lucifer slash the devil on the right, and then they say it's a depiction of heaven, I believe, on the left. So I'm gonna go into explaining his message in a little bit greater detail. Um, so my insight on this is after they went and checked up on this monk, and then he showed him the Giga Codex. He has this book. Like, you need to understand, this book right here is so large. It's gigantic. if somebody were to be on like let's say a 6-story building and then threw it down on you and you were standing above it or below it, and if it landed on you, you would most likely die because it's like 150 pounds. It's like the size of a car. And then, not very many people were able to really explain it. And then, after I was looking at it, it's like, oh my gosh, um, people aren't like really understanding how amazing of a piece of work that is, and to not understand the message that is coming from like what it means is going to be a really big error. And when I'm watching these videos, they do an amazing job explaining all the details, but at the same time they really can't conclude the, to an analysis or conclusion of really what is it really for, and why is it even, what is it even beneficial about or for. So that's where I come in on my insight on what makes this so important and what's so out of the ordinary about it. So anyway, you're looking at the Giga Codex right here. So the whole rumor is that the monk, in exchange for his life, to not be walled up alive for his punishment, the rumor goes that he sold his soul to the devil, in order to help him write the book and the manuscript. So that's what I'm here to reveal and make known. Like, okay, well, he basically told everybody, like, yo, he sold his soul to the devil, and then the devil in exchange, you know, held up with his end of the bargain. So the devil's end of the bargain was to, write the manuscript and, prove the secrets of the universe for the monk. And then obviously we have to conclude that the devil actually did help this monk and write this book. And the reason I conclude that it's 100% authentic is for the simple fact of how out of the ordinary it is. It can't be replicated. Somebody can't just go into a freaking dungeon and make this book in 24 hours. And that's where people are, being ignorant and not understanding, that's not possible for, a normal person, because I mean, science reveals, the only way that this book could have been created was through like, it was like something like 10 plus years of continuous work or even more. It's just astronomical. Um, so the revelation of the Giga Codex, also known as the Devil's Bible, is this is the Devil's Bible. It was made by the devil. You're looking at his craft, and remember, the devil is crafty. So this should make it very obvious, like how crafty he is. Okay, basically, it's no one can even craft this. Okay, you'd have to be a superhuman, or like you would need alien technology. It's just unfathomable, of the how remarkable this piece of work is. So my insight in more details of what is the Devil's Bible is it was made by the devil, and that's where everybody's kind of forgetting the whole story of what's his name, something, I forgot his name, something, the recluse, the monk who sold his soul. So the whole revelation that is revolved around the Giga Codex and the Devil's Bible is it reveals how mankind or man can sell their soul in exchange for riches and greatness, which is revealed in the Bible. It's been revealed in the Bible. Don't sell your soul, because materialistic gains aren't worth the loss of the pros and cons of what comes with having to sell your soul. So the problem with selling your soul is where you have to do what it means where if somebody steals your soul is that means that you owe somebody and then you have to do what they tell you. Okay. Or if you, yeah, steal somebody's soul, that's what it means. So, and it happens all the time. Like if you owe the wrong person, they can say, "Hey, you're gonna do this because you owe me." So, in a sense, it becomes a point where, oh, they are able to actually steal your soul if it's continuously, where you infinitely, like, there's no end to how much you have to pay them back and then have to do for them. So if you do sell your soul, what it means is you will have to do everything that whoever it is that bought your soul in exchange. So they'll say, "Hey, you need to do this because I'm telling you because I rule over you. You owe me." And you know how that goes. If you owe the wrong person and if you try to disobey and they say, "Hey, you're going to do what I tell you because you owe me." Well, you already know what that means because if you owe somebody, especially the wrong person, and then if you try to say, "Oh, I ain't going to do that for you," what's going to happen if you owe somebody and then you're trying to say, "Hey, I don't owe you. I'm not going to do that." Well, most of the time, if you owe somebody and then they're trying to collect their money on you, they're going to potentially kill you, rob you, beat you up, and do everything everything in their power to make sure you pay them what you owe them, right? So this is a whole revelation of, yeah, it does happen and it is possible. And when people are saying, "Oh, that's not possible," you can't just steal somebody's soul, but it happens every day. I mean, for example, let's say this is a good example because it can really highlight the aspect of the circumstance. Let's say that you were a drug dealer, right? And let's say that you knew a drug dealer who was going to work with you and then you both made a deal. So the deal, let's say the deal is, okay, give me so and so amount of drugs. Let's make it a reasonable number so it can be a little bit more understanding to a person. Let's say that a person says, "Okay, well, give me a pound of drugs, whatever sort of drugs, it really don't matter." More likely than not, something illegal, right? Because that's where someone's really going to come after you, and then that's where you're going to get in the most trouble if it's illegal. Somebody says, "Okay, borrow or give me a pound of some illegal drugs," right? And then that person gives you a pound of illegal drugs, and then the deal is, "Okay, well, you need to pay me back in so and so amount of time, or else I'm gonna have to come after you and collect from you." So that's what happens when somebody, steals somebody's soul. Is, okay, well, they give them the pound of drugs, and then what happens is the other person gets, the pound of drugs, but let's say something happens. Let's say they get robbed, um, which is more a common scenario of what happens with, drug dealing because word of mouth gets out, "Oh, this guy has a pound of drugs." Everyone on the block is ready to go rob him, right? So what this guy gets robbed for a pound of drugs that somebody else gave them on a front. Okay, so then what happens is the other person goes back to the other person and says, "Hey, you have my money." And then what happens if the other person says, "Oh, no, I don't have your money. I got robbed," or whatever it may be. Or maybe they used it and they're just some sort of addict or something. Well, then what happens is that's how people's souls get stolen, is because you owe the wrong person. So now what happens is the person who gave them that, pound of drugs is going to demand from you endless amounts of payback. endless because it's only fair to that person to be able to say, hey, well, you're paying me back. And you can't say nothing else about it. So the moral of the story is it's possible, for people to steal each other's soul because if you owe the wrong person, that's the same thing. It's equal. So basically, when the other person comes to collect, and then if the person still owes more, that's the point of, you know, losing your identity, losing your soul, is if you keep owing somebody more, now you don't have a choice. So the other person doesn't have a choice. They have to pay them back, regardless of how they have to pay them back, whatever it may be. Maybe it's satisfying for the other person to assassinate slash kill the person that owes them, and maybe that's what you have to pay back in exchange for them to be satisfied with their loss of what you owe. So a lot of times people are satisfied with, oh, I'll just kill this person because they owe me, and then now that satisfies me because they owe me. So that's what they deserve. Now I feel rewarded. They feel rewarded off killing that person because they owe them, and then they're like, oh man, that's like a weight lifted off my shoulder. That person owed me. I killed them or whatever, and now there are different ways. I mean, there are other aspects. Some of the time they may just say, hey, you're going to pay me back double. You have X and X amount of time. So that's what happened with this case is, the monk made a deal and owed the devil. So now the devil is going to use his identity. And then what that means is if somebody is going to use your identity is he can tell the other person, hey, go do this. And then the other person has to go do what they tell them because it's what they owe. So the whole point of the Giga Codex was to reveal, like, hey, the devil needed to make it, you know, fair for when he does steal people's souls and makes other people owe him, that they can't try to say, oh, I didn't know any better. I didn't know you were real, or I didn't think it was possible. So then it can go back down to this aspect of, nobody can really argue that they didn't realize that there were strange things possible, and they didn't, and then they can't argue that they didn't know that they would actually have to pay back or do something. And then the devil can use this in his defense. Like, okay, well, you're trying to say you don't think it's possible for something out of the ordinary to happen. And yet, it this is something out of the ordinary that happened. And then remember, why else do you think the devil wants to make it such a out of the ordinary event? Because he needs to make sure it's noticeable for everybody to realize, hey, there's something going on. Everyone needs to be extra careful. Because regardless if you are ignorant to the fact and say, oh, I don't think something is possible, it doesn't matter, because if it does happen and if it is possible, regardless if you deny that it is possible or can happen, it's not going to change the fact if it does happen. And that's what happens here. Is the monk had to reveal, okay, everybody, the devil is down here, and then he even basically revealed, hey, the monk revealed he sold his soul to the devil. Okay, that means made a deal, made a bargain. So that also means that he owes the devil. So his part of the bargain is he has to pass the message down so that everybody knows it's real. So if it ever happens, if the event ever occurs that someone messes around and and then they sell their soul to the devil, and then he goes and collects on them, and then they freak out and say, oh no, I'm not going to pay you. How was I supposed to know that it was real? He's going to hold you accountable because there's evidence in it, there's proof that people can't be ignorant of. So he's going to say, oh, so you're trying to be ignorant and not notice my crafty work? And then he's going to be even more mad at you if you don't notice his crafty work, right? So if you don't notice that this is his crafty work, you're basically insulting him because you're saying that he doesn't exist or it's not possible for someone to be extraordinarily crafty on a godlike level, and then yet it's right in front of you and it's been in front of everybody for decades. Just because you don't understand it or can decipher it doesn't give you a write-off or a free pass, right? So don't be ignorant to like saying, "Oh, you can't lose your." Don't be ignorant. Okay, you can lose your soul, and you can owe the wrong person, and they can come collect on you, and then they can tell you you're gonna do this because I told you so. Because guess what? If you owe the wrong person, they potentially could tell you do this, do that, do this, and you have no say because they basically potentially own you because you owe them. And what's going to happen if you owe somebody and you try not to do what they tell you? Punishment. And why do you think everybody does what the devil tells them? Because they can't deny if they owe Satan or Lucifer or the devil. Because dude, if you try to tell the devil, "Oh, I'm not gonna help you out. I'm not gonna do that," and you owe him, he's gonna beat your ass. He's gonna fucking. Why do you think everybody serves the devil whenever they owe him? Is because there's no going back. It's a black hole. There's no escape. Like you could maybe want to get away from him and be like, "Oh no, I don't want to do that," but as soon as he comes at you and forces you to fulfill your end of the bargain, you're going to have to do it because regardless, he'll make you. It will happen because if you owe him, he'll do anything and everything he can to, force you to fulfill. And remember, the devil wants other people to pass the message down that, because he needs to trick people. That's his crafty work, is to get people to owe him. So that's why it gets bigger and bigger, is if more people, you know, if it, the more he can make his presence known and make it evident, like that he is there, the more you owe him. And that's why he's taken it up another level on this magnitude, is because now if he can make it known and know that there's something suspicious going on, people are going to owe him more. So that's the point of making it is more known and more known and more known, and why he uses people that he stole their soul to create more debt. So now you're looking at a monk who lost his soul, who owed the devil. So he's basically promoting. He has to promote for the devil to potentially get more people to owe him. That's the whole point of what Lucifer and Satan is Satan needs everybody to owe him. Because if everybody owes him, everyone has to serve him and do what he tells them. Okay, so now everybody should be aware, like, okay, it's possible people can lose, and it's not going to be very obvious. Look at how obvious this is, that he lost his soul to the devil, and still, not very many people are very understanding and know that it was real or that it happened. So you can imagine if there's this much amount of evidence of the devil's crafty work right in front of everybody, how much more difficult is it going to be to notice that some other small fry out there owes the devil and is serving the devil? All right, you're never going to know because he's crafty. That's his craftiness. That's what a criminal does, is he needs to make sure that nobody can trace him, nobody can know who he is, because he has to make sure that no one can find him. Because if anybody can find him or know who he is, he'll be on the run, right? That's how nature works. Like America's Most Wanted. If anybody spots him or notices him, they're gonna say, "Hey, he's over there. Everybody keep an eye out. Report him." So his craftiness comes in, is he's got to stay under the radar so nobody finds out who he is. So why do you think no one hardly ever knows who he is? And most people are like, oh, he's a fairy tale. He's not real. Yeah, because he's crafty and he's going to, of course, set it up so that nobody really knows it. Now, we're going to go into the video here. So yeah, if this book image alone, you need to understand this book that you're looking at right there, that is like the size of a vehicle, a small vehicle, like 150 pounds. Um, Absolutely a modern marvel. Another wild thing about it is every single page in the book, there's some like some sort of sacred text on every single page. So it would be one thing if, every single page was blank and there's really nothing in it. Okay, we can understand maybe this isn't too out of the ordinary. But, every single thing about it is just astronomically perplexing and unordinary and authentic. Okay, so let's go into the movie and I'll give my insight real quick on that.
The Codex Gigas, also known as the Devil's Bible, due to the large illustration of the devil on the inside of the giant book. It is also connected to the legend surrounding its creation. It is largely thought to have been created in the early 12th century in the Benedictine monastery of Bodlajica in Bohemia. According to legend, the Codex was created by a character known as Herman the Recluse in the Benedictine monastery near Chirdim in the Czech Republic. The monastery was destroyed sometime in the 15th century during the Hussite Revolution. The Codex was thankfully rescued and taken to the Benedictine monastery in Brzezhnov. From 1477 to 1593, it was kept in the library of a monastery until it was taken to Prague in 1594 to form part of the collections of the Emperor Rudolf II. In 1648, it was taken as war booty by the Swedish army. In 1697, it would escape destruction again when a fierce fire broke out at the royal castle in Stockholm, subsequently destroying the royal library. The Codex was rescued from the flames by being thrown from a window. According to the vicar, Johan Erikssons, the Codex landed on a bystander, injuring him quite badly. In September 2007, after 359 years of changing hands in numerous ways, the Codex Gigas was returned to the National Library in Stockholm. But what makes the Codex particularly special and worthy of further investigation are the characteristics within the writings of this enormous book, which astonishingly support the story of it being created in just one sitting.
One day.
A National Geographic documentary included interviews with manuscript experts who argued that certain evidence, in particular the handwriting analysis and the long-standing credit to Herman Inclusus, aka Herman the Recluse, indicate the manuscript was indeed, somehow, the work of just one scribe. According to the historical legend, which was already academically recorded by the Middle Age, the scribe was a monk who broke his monastic vows and was sentenced to be walled up alive. In order to avoid this harsh penalty, he promised to create, in one night, a book to glorify the monastery forever. This book would include all human knowledge.
All human knowledge.
He became sure that he could not complete this task alone, so he made a special prayer, not addressed to God, but to the fallen angel Lucifer, asking him to help finish the book in exchange for the monk's soul. The devil would accept this deal. Completing the rest of the manuscript, the monk would add the devil's picture out of gratitude for his help. Many specialists within the area of writing, forensic analysis, and also numerous replication attempts have indicated that the level of uniformity within the writings lean towards the impossible. Not only does it strongly indicate that the book was created in just one sitting, but is perfectly scribed throughout, a feat considered to be beyond that of human capabilities. The analysis also shown that the writings alone, if written by one person, would take over 5 years to complete, with the additional illustrations adding another 20. Yet it must be noted, it has been concluded on many occasions that no mere mortal is capable of such uniform writings within this time period. there would have inevitably been some form of evolution within the style. Of course, it must be remembered, although there is a highly compelling story attached to the origins of this giant book, its creation still largely remains a mystery. How big would you have to be for it to comfortably rest in one's lap? What sort of person, if of course it was a person, could have written the Codex Gigas? And how did they write it? It is most certainly one of the world's most mysterious books.
Okay, I want to show you this picture. Look at this. Look at this picture. This is a depiction of exactly what I was just going over explaining. And you can notice how you have a figure that appears to be the devil, and then he's eating man, you know, and that goes down to owing the wrong person. That's what happens if you owe the wrong person. You know, they're going to eat you, they're going to own you, they're going to boss you around, tell you what to do. And that's what happens, you know, until you, unless you owe the devil, you know, he can't really lay his hands on you because he knows that God can intervene and come between. But God works in a way where if you owe somebody, he won't intervene. That's none of his business. So that's why Lucifer relies on setting people up, getting it so that you owe him and it goes over your head that you don't know that he's really even there. Because then if he can trick you, you're going to have to owe him. So this picture here is a depiction of what appears to be three men, you know, being consumed by the devil, right? You know, he's eating one of them and he's got one in one hand, one in the other, and then he looks totally like a beast, right? So that's what happens. He gets his hands on the people who owe him, and they owe him endless amounts of debt, and you know they can never pay him back. So that's what happens. They get, you know, it's like a hostage situation. And that is really about all the details that I can break into because um other than that we just go into more details of, you know, dates and stuff. But you know, that's the general consensus of what it is and why. So this is all orchestra to, you know, a trap to make it so everybody owes him more because it's a black hole and it's just going to get bigger and bigger. Because if people don't accept, oh, this is out of the ordinary, and then people will just say, oh, that's ordinary. Okay, really, how is anybody going to say that that's ordinary when nobody can explain it? Nobody has any excuse to try to say, oh, they didn't think that something out of the ordinary could have happened. And it just keeps happening every day. You know, people are going into the devil order. And remember, most people that, you know, lose their soul to the devil, you're never going to know that they lost their soul because that's the point of if you owe somebody, they tell you what to do. So it's not like you can pass the message down. Why do you think no one can just say, oh, yeah, it's real? Because, oh, I didn't even see that fourth person. Do you see the fourth person coming out of his stomach? It's just absolutely out of control. And then he's like got his legs all over everybody because he's consuming everybody. It's like energy equals MC squared. So if he can get it so that everybody owes him, he's going to become all powerful. That's his goal. He wants to become all powerful where everybody owes him. Because if everybody owes him, then God will have to owe him. Oh my